In another video, I've shown you how to use rolled up magazine pages to make a coiled bowl. In this video, we're going to use the same material, the rolled up magazine pages, but we are going to weave a small basket. To begin, we want to create a warp and weft pattern. So we're going to take all of our magazine tubes, we're going to need about 20, and just flatten them out. So right now they're still round and rolly. We want them flat. So flatten all your tubes. And I did go ahead and start building this just because I haven't done it in a while and I wanted to make sure I remembered how to do it. So we're going to end up deconstructing this so that I can really show you. But what you're going to need are 4 pieces, and that's going to form your warp, so your vertical pieces, and you want to tape those down with a little space in between. And then you're also going to need 5 more pieces that are going to become the weft. And that's what we're going to talk about because there is a certain technique to doing this weft to create the base of the basket. So I'm going to start deconstructing this and then tell you how I did it. All right, so the first piece of weft is going to go up through, and you want to try to have it go over, under, over, under. That's your weaving pattern for this first piece. Keep it centered. And you want to go up to pretty much the center because this is going to become part of the sides. So you want what's sticking out on here and what's sticking out up here to be about the same. So that's your first piece. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, and this is just because it's the base. I don't know if this is actually a formal way of making a basket. I pretty much made it up myself, but this is the way that I do it. So what I did was I started out under, because this one was over, and then under, and then over. And this time my piece of material is not going to stick out on one side. Okay, so that's for piece number 2. And then I'm going to go back in the opposite direction. And this is why you tape things down, because they do want to shift around on you. And even with the tape, it's kind of peeling up on me. But you're going to go back in the opposite. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because you do have to lift things and sort of force things to do what you want. Get a little assertive with your weaving. Now, if your tubes, when you made them, are being uncooperative, they might not be very flexible, you can take them and before you start weaving, just really kind of rough them up a bit. And that's going to make them even more flexible than just having flattened them. So that's just a little tip. And now we're going to put another piece in that is just a regular piece like the first one, but it's going to go opposite, and I'm going to go from the bottom because it's a little easier. So this one is going to be an under, over, under. So we're just going opposite of what we did last time. And then you want this to stay really tight. This is your base of your basket, so it has to stay really, really tight to not have gaps in it, especially if you want this to be functional. Otherwise, your basket won't hold anything. Okay, so there's that one. And now the next one is very similar to the second one, but we're going in a bit of a different direction. So this time, I'm going to have the short end on this side, and it's going to be under, over, under, over, and push that up. Okay, and it's going to double back just like it did with that second one. And then our last piece for the base is going to be the same as the first piece and the third piece. So this one You can go right in from the bottom and then just push it up and make sure that it's lined up. And it's okay if they're not perfectly even. The ends are going to eventually be tucked in into the final basket. So there is the base of your basket. So I'm looking at this and I really kind of feel like I want to flip it over because I want these loose pieces to end up on the inside of the basket. So we're going to go with that. And this is where you have to be really careful because you don't want your pieces to fall apart. So I'm going to start building the sides by just folding up those ones that were on the end, and be really careful of you know, the ones that are over, because you don't want to pull them out. I've given everything a bend, so now at least it will sort of want to go in that direction, and I'm going to start building up the edges. So what you want to do is decide you know, where you want to start. So I want this one to be over, I know that, so I'm going to just start right there. And so far it's a lot like the base was, but we're going upwards. So we're going to actually make a bend right here on where the corner will be. And then this one would go here. So that's over. This one's under. There we go. Now we're going. And then you're going to have to really just keep, you know, holding things together with your hands. So this is tricky. I would say this is more of a advanced project, not for younger students, because it definitely takes some manual dexterity. All right, and then we're going to make another turn. And you can use tape to help you. So like right now it's getting really very difficult for me to hold this piece in. So I am going to just place some tape there to help me, to be like an extra hand. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. And these little pieces are just temporary, you know, so they're there just to help you out as you're working. All right, so we're going to make that turn. Give that a good bend. And then this one's going to go over. Here we are at the next bend. Just give it a turn. And then it's going to run out. It doesn't go all the way around, which is fine. So I'm going to use a little piece of tape again just to help me. And you could have a few of these just sitting aside, so you're not like struggling while holding it. That probably makes more sense than what I've been doing. So you could always just have a few pieces. So this one, we're just going to continue, and I'm going to overlap it just a little right there, and then keep going. So okay, and now we are going to reach this bend again, and this time it's going over. And this is where I might need to reposition the tape, because it's going to be in my way at this point. So I'm going to move it to where it will help me, which is to hold this piece in. Okay, and then create my bend. Okay, so we're coming up to the last piece that we're going to be adding. So I'm just checking around the basket and I see like 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So this one's not even going to go all the way around. So I'm going to grab some scissors because I'm going to want to trim this. It's not, because this side already has 3 rows and just needs 1 more. So it's almost there. This is where the basket really gets secured in place because we're going to be weaving these loose pieces down into the basket. So we're going to just start on the side closest to us, and I'm just going to sort of bend some of these out of the way. So this side here, I'm going to go down, and I'm just going back into the basket. So kind of like that. It goes over and then it catches this loop here. All right, and then for the, I'm going to skip one for now. And this is just because it's a little easier to make sure that you're getting this all secure if you sort of skip them. So I'm going to go down. And this is where you want to make sure that you've got your weave as tight as you want it. This is the chance to make any adjustments. Okay, and then I'm just going to go opposite side. And I'm doing the ones that are on the outside of the basket going over. And if it seems like it's going to be a little too long, like this one clearly is like a little too long, I can give it a little bit of a trim. And you can save these because if you unflatten them, you can use them to make paper beads. So don't feel like those are going to be wasted. You can totally use those for something else. They do go flying though when you cut them. And as you can see, there's no gluing. There's no need to keep using the tape once you've woven things back in. It really gets held together just by the weaving itself, which is really, really, really nice. All right, and then for these ones, we're going to go in the opposite direction. So we're going to the outside because we want it to go over. And so it's going to go over and then under. And then you can just give it a little trim. Okay, so there is our finished basket. You can use it to keep things in.